So thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
You're welcome.
So the way we like to start these conversations, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, where you're from, helps people sort of connect to your journey.
My name is Christopher Jenkins. I'm 30 years old. I live in Columbus, Georgia. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida. I have one son. He's 12. I work at Chairman's Foods. We make vegetables. Pretty much, I feel like I'm kind of healthy, but I could do better. I don't work out as much as I want to. I like to get on the computer a lot and research.
What made you decide to move from Florida?
I was in Florida trying to connect with my family and pretty much got connected. So I just moved back because it's really expensive down there. Try to be on your own.
Sure. I'd love to hear about your health journey before you engaged with our service. So you engaged with us in October of this past year. But before that, could you describe a little bit about your health, what you know about your health, what you've talked to your doctors about, that sort of thing?
My health is pretty much good. Only thing I have a problem with is sleep, but I don't have no heart problems or nothing like that. Like I donated plasma, so I pretty much feel healthy all overall. My feet just kind of got calluses on it from working so much. That's about it. Before I wasn't working as much back then as I was now.
And so, was there something going on where you weren't working as much back then?
I think it was just the end of the COVID or something, and I think I lost my job. I got my job back this year or last year. So that was kind of slowed it down.
Well, I'm glad you got back your job. That's a relief for sure, I'm sure. So,
Yes.
so you mentioned, you feel pretty healthy. In fact, you had mentioned in your report that you felt your health is above average for your age.
Yes.
And so when we gave you the report, first of all, do you remember, participating with us, taking the survey? Do you remember how you found us, that sort of thing?
Facebook?
Sure. Yeah. So you might have seen a Facebook ad, perhaps.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Do you remember how you felt taking the survey or answering the questions, anything like that?
It was very interesting. Like they was asking me questions like about how much sleep I get and how much exercise I get during the week, stuff like that. I remember something like that. You asked me, do I have any chronic illnesses and stuff like that too.
Sure. And yeah, you had mentioned a few illnesses in your report. Could you talk about a few of those that you had experienced?
Depression, that's pretty much my mom had passed a couple of years ago. I've been depressed ever since. Anxiety, I feel somewhat anxious. I feel anxious to do stuff, but sometimes I procrastinate. But I have like anxiety towards stuff, important stuff.
And you mentioned depression. Have you seen a doctor about depression at all? Have you talked to someone about it?
No, I haven't seen a doctor.
And then anything for the anxiety? Have you talked to someone about your anxiety at all?
My family.
You mentioned, sleep apnea itself and migraine as well. Are those things that you struggle with?
Sometimes just we getting up for work and have to go, like sometimes I pull a double shift. I can't sleep, so I have to, when I do get up, I don't go to sleep. I have to pull in a double shift and just stay up for the rest of the week.
Would you characterize things as quite stressful, which makes it difficult to sleep? Is that part of it?
Yeah, like some money issues, residency issues, and transportation issues.
Yeah.
One, because I be walking.
All of these issues come up and it causes a lot of stress. That's what we found anyway, that you have pretty high stress levels, which is challenging, right? I mean, you have a lot of stress. It impacts your sleep.
You got name pills, but I take some type of pill to go to sleep.
You mentioned you're 30 years old. You feel like you have above average health. That's what you mentioned to us. Yet when we dig deeper and we compare your health experience relative to a lot of other folks, it ends up coming out that you're significantly below where a lot of other folks are. Particularly, we broke folks out by age, so 30 to 39 years old is kind of the age bracket that you fall into.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found is that you actually fall on the lower end of your age group, which in my mind is a bit surprising given, you're 30, if you were 39, sort of at the higher end of the group, then I would expect perhaps your health to be a bit worse than the average.
Right.
From what we've learned through the service is that you're struggling a bit. From a physical health perspective, you experience pain, you experience muscle aches, headaches, and things like that. And those are all things that probably not quite as common for 30 to 39-year-olds.
Right.
When you hear those types of things, what's sort of your immediate reaction upon hearing that you're on the lower end of the scale there?
It's surprising to me, really interesting too, because like folks are older than me, but they're in better health than me, but they're not dealing with the things that younger folks are dealing with. They already done dealt with it.
It was, certainly surprising. And one of the things that I found fascinating is that you do exercise quite a bit. You're what we call in the moderate category of exercise, which means you're probably doing about 20 to 30 minutes of movement a day, which is good, which is fantastic, actually. Actually, your diet is really good. Do you find that you eat pretty healthy, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So you're sort of eating a lot of vegetables and avoiding sort of the red meats and things like that?
Yeah, I eat vegetables. I don't eat too much meat.
Yeah,
I like to, but I don't as much as I used to now. Try to cut back.
I mean, you have according to the service, you have a very good diet, which is actually very few people have a very good diet. I think it's something like 6% of folks have a good diet, which congratulations, that's actually a great work there. Yeah. And maybe it's a lot of the walking too, right? Maybe that helps as well with your activity levels, which is great.
Right.
So it sounds like from a physical health perspective, maybe getting support for your pain that you are experiencing, some of the headaches and things like that. Certainly, you mentioned difficulty breathing at times, right? Is that something that you experience fairly often?
No, not really. Just probably just waking up. I wake up and it's like a hard time to catch my breath. Like I have to wash my face and all that type of stuff just to start breathing normal.
Sure.
I guess I'd be in a deep sleep.
Sure. And that could be part of the apnea as well.
Yeah.
So for the apnea, do you use a CPAP machine or have someone talked to you about a CPAP machine at all?
No, I haven't used one. I ain't never talked to anybody about it either.
So I used to have severe sleep apnea and, snoring all the time. And that was actually what was going on with me, where I was living this 30% life. And then I got a surgery a couple of years ago. And that's kind of, things changed dramatically for me. And that's kind of what inspired me to do all of this work. But yeah, sleep is incredibly important. And one of the things that we found in engaging with you, of course, is that, your sleep is poor and it's probably the sleep apnea. Does sort of thinking through the sleep apnea and hearing me talk about it, living a 30% life, for example, how does that make you feel about your sleep apnea and things that you might want to do, knowing that, we found that your sleep to be pretty poor, unfortunately?
Because I know I need 8 hours sleep. So I sometimes just get out for work and stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning always. Probably get 4 hours sleep, wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, stuff like that. And stay up for the rest of the day, go straight to sleep. It's having so much on my mind, it's hard.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, the stress, right? We talked about that. One of the things that we also found in learning with you, right, is mental health is important. And unfortunately, your mental health, as you mentioned, right, you've experienced depression, unfortunately, with your mom passing away. So sorry to hear, by the way. Anxiety. One of the things that we found is that, I'm a minority, right? We don't seek support. We don't go see therapists. We don't see counseling. We don't get medicated for mental illness. Is that something that you might want to think about? Is the thing that a counselor might be able to do is help you with your stress levels, maybe help you with your sleep as well, and maybe that might help everything else, right? I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
I would like to do that. Find the time to talk with somebody that knows about that stuff.
So we talked about your physical health and then your mental health and your sleep, of course. When you think about mental health and sleep and how they're connected, right? If you're stressed out, it's going to make it very difficult to sleep. If you have sleep apnea, it's going to make it difficult for you to sleep. And then it's going to impact your physical health. What do you think about those types of things?
I want to talk to a doctor. I haven't talked to them, but most of the time I get support from my family and stuff, but they so far away. I talk to them from a distance. I want to talk to somebody, like face to face, where I can feel the feedback better.
When was the last time you talked to a doctor?
It's been a couple of years ago. No, it's been a couple of years. It's been probably a year or two. I talked with a plasma donation physician, but I had to take a physical to start. You just asked me questions like, am I feeling well and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. For the plasma donation, you'll talk to a doctor, and that makes sense. But for an annual physical or anything like that, have you been to see anyone?
No, not really. I need to though. That's what I want to.
That's our purpose. That's the reason why we're doing this, is to help folks recognize when they need support and help and talk to their doctors and get the support that they need. And if you fix any one of those things, if you get the mental health support or the physical health support or the sleep becomes better, any one of those things I think can have a dramatic impact for you. And so that would be the hope, is that, you take your report, you print it up, you take it to your doctor, you have a conversation with your doctor about some of these things, and hopefully they have ideas for you. What are your thoughts on that sort of possibility for you?
It sounds good to me. It's like a report is what It describes me without even having to say anything. And I just show the doctor that, and he can reflect without me even saying nothing.
Yeah. It's hard when you're with a doctor, right, to say everything. Well, first of all, you got to remember everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing too is, you're 30 years old, you feel okay, right? You feel okay, but you're too busy, right? I mean, I get it. Life is busy. Sometimes it's hard to remember everything to say to the doctor.
Yeah.
Is that something that you want to do? Is that something a good next step for you?
Yeah, that'd be my next step.
Perfect. Now, do you have a doctor you regularly see or seen before, or would you have to get a new doctor?
I have to get a new doctor. I have a new health plan for this year, so I have to see a new doctor.
And do you have someone who can help you set up appointments, that kind of thing?
I'll probably do it myself.
And so, what are your thoughts on, getting to better health so that you can, be better there for your son? What are your thoughts there?
Really just like the encouragement of making it to that point. You want to keep being encouraged and never lose the encouragement.
It's such an important thing, health. And unfortunately, it's easy to sort of just say, hey, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to just keep doing what I'm doing. And the great thing is you're 30, right? You have lots of years to make it better and make it, maximize, right? Maximize what you're going through. And I think there's opportunities for you, right? If you talk to someone about your stress, maybe they'll be able to help, give you tips. If you have low energy levels, which it sounds like you do from the sleep and the stress and the anxiety, they can give you things to help with your energy levels. Sleep itself, the CPAP machine, it's a bit bulky, but I've talked to a lot of folks who've used it, and it's really helpful, really helpful. Make sure you sleep through the night. One of the things that I found is, and it's kind of weird to think about, if you get really good high quality sleep, you don't feel like you need 10-12 hours to catch up on sleep anymore because you're getting really good high quality sleep. And that's a big difference, right? You wake up and you have energy, you're able to take on the day and that kind of thing. It makes a big difference.
Right.
So how does it make you feel? You said that you felt like you were above average from a health perspective. Even as we talked about this conversation, you said you don't exercise as much as you'd like to, but we found that you're exercising actually a good level for relative to other folks. Are there other things that you want to do now that you wouldn't have done based on this conversation?
Basically, I just want to talk with somebody more because I don't ever talk hard to nobody about my problems. So this will help me open up more.
Great. That's great to hear. And as you mentioned, if you take the report to your doctor, you don't even have to say anything. You can just let them read it for a bit and they can hopefully help you.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I'd love to do, maybe in a month's time, you've had a chance to take the report to your doctor. I'd love to hear how it went, right? I'd love to hear whether or not your doctor's been able to give you some advice and tips on what to do on any number of things, right? Whether it's the sleep or the mental health support or the physical health support, right? Something for your pain, for example. Are you taking any sort of pain meds or anything like that?
Not really. Ibuprofen.
Ibuprofen. And is it enough? Do you feel like it's enough? Or do you feel like you need more support?
It's pretty much enough. It does the job.
How often do you say you need the ibuprofen?
Probably like twice a week. I take two pills every time.
And is it specific areas? Is it like your knees and your joints? Is it your feet? Anything like that?
Yeah, mostly at the bottom of my foot. Sometimes my back, but it's just like strain, not back problem, but like a stiff muscle.
So maybe if you talk to the doctor, maybe they'll give you some advice on how to manage that. And maybe ibuprofen's the best way. I don't know, but certainly it's something worth talking to the doctor about.
Yes.
One thing that we found is that you're highly satisfied with life. That's actually a great way to be.
Yeah.
Is optimism, right? I characterize that as optimism. Would you say you're pretty optimistic?
Yes.
Great. So one of the things that I would ask is you've engaged with our service, you've received the report. We've had now this conversation where we talked about some of the health issues that you've encountered and some of the things that you might do next. Do you have advice for other folks who might be hesitant maybe to engage with us? What advice would you have for other folks?
My advice would be to do some research about yourself and network with people with knowledge about your problem.
What do you think prevents a lot of folks from doing exactly what you described? What are the challenges folks face?
It's peer pressure and self-doubt, not self-doubt, but self-criticism. Nobody want to be criticized about that.
I couldn't agree more, right? I mean, it's easy to be hard on yourself,
Right.
And it's no one. You're absolutely right. No one wants to be told, hey, I need to do this and that and the other thing.
Yeah,
One of the things that I reflect on is it's not our fault. It's human to be sick. It's human to struggle. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know a single person out there without some sort of issues or challenges that they have to face. Do you feel that that's a bit of stigma? Do you feel like it's unpack that a bit? What is that feeling that prevents people from wanting to get support and help?
They want stuff to be they're comfortable with what they're going through. Like, they don't want to embrace change. They're scared of change. Like some folks is, they don't know what's better. They're just so used to what's going on. They don't know. They don't want to learn about what's better. That's all they know.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's actually why we do what we're doing right now. Hard to get out of our own heads, right? We're just stuck up there. We're living our day to day. It's reflecting, taking a step back, trying to get to know who we are and what we're going through and being in touch with that. That's hard to do because the easy answer, right? The easy answer is I'm going to ignore it.
Yeah,
Or this is how it's always been. This is how it's always going to be. I'm very glad what you said. You said embrace change. That's such a
yes,
powerful message to folks. Embrace change. Is that something that you want to do in your health?
yeah. That's most definitely.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. Let's say you received your report. If there were a few things you would change about your health, what are those things after we've had this conversation? What are those things that you would want to change the most?
One of the things that I want to get more sleep, want to exercise more, do more vigorous exercise. I want to relieve pain in my foot.
The mental health stress support, would you want to do that too?
Yeah, that's mental health. I want to stop being depressed about stuff.
It's okay to be, you lost your mom. I'm sorry again. Getting support, right? To process, just like the woman I spoke to, she got support to process and manage through. That's so one of the hopes is that you have the opportunity to take the report to your doctor, you have the conversation, they give you some advice and they refer you to maybe counseling or to physical health support to help with the pain. That would be wonderful. Maybe you go to a sleep doctor to help with your sleep, or maybe they prescribe some sort of sleep medication for you to help with your sleep. That would be the goal. And maybe in 3 or 6 months, you come back to us and take the test again, so to speak, and we find that you've improved dramatically. That would be the goal. What are your thoughts about that?
I want to get more sleep. So if I could talk to somebody about getting some medicine prescribed to me, I would like that.
And then if you get more sleep, it'll help a lot of other things, right? I mean, your mood will improve, your energy will improve. If you got more energy, you'll be able to exercise more, which is what you said you wanted to do, which is fantastic. Will you recommend engaging with our service to other people? Is that something that you'll think about?
Oh yes, family, friends, people I work with.
That's wonderful. How do you think it'll help them if you were to recommend it to folks? What are you going to say to them? What are the things you'll say?
I'll just tell them to engage with our program and they'll learn more about themselves that they didn't know.
And then will you come back to us, right? So, let's say in 3 months you've gotten some help, some support. Will you come back and say, hey, I want to know how I'm doing. If there's areas that I need more support on, what would you do?
Yes, I want to do that.
Wonderful. Mr. Jenkins, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to provide your feedback today. Really appreciate it. Sounds like you've had a good experience with our service.
Yes.
Yeah. And wish you a pleasant day ahead. I look forward to hopefully hearing from you if you're able to get some support there that you mentioned for better sleep, for better mental health and physical health support. That would be wonderful. And I wish you all the best for you and your son moving forward, particularly with your health. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.